Hey guys, Chris with the Tiger's Den, and I really just want to sit down and share with you guys my thoughts on some of this Final Fantasy VII stuff that's breaking. So let's go. So the first thing I want to talk about is this Tokyo Game Show trailer. And this was so good. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I understand a lot of people are talking about the audio in it being somewhat off. And I just want to preface it by saying, having worked in television at times, when you put together a trailer or a teaser reel, a lot of the times these things are not going to be like the top priority. We're seeing English in there, and it doesn't look like it's necessarily on all the time. I highly doubt that's the final quality based on the other things we've seen, and I'll get to that later. But I want to talk about a video I made a while back where Player Essence on YouTube, OJ, was talking about how he hated the episodic nature of this, which I found a little hypocritical given that his favorite series is, Xenoblade Chronicles. Which, don't get me wrong, Xenoblade Chronicles isn't like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Part 1 and Part 2, but the game itself is segments. The developers have talked about that. So while you're getting a complete game experience, it's a piece of the story. And that's really what Final Fantasy VII the Remake is, based on what the director of the game has presented. Yes, this is going to be told over multiple parts, the same way that the original was told over multiple discs. But because of the expanded nature, you're getting about 60 hours per part. Yeah, if it goes to 3 parts, I'm going to eat all 3 parts up. Now, I'll fully admit that that's not because I like the business practice. I don't. The idea of pulling in 3 separate $60 purchases for one game, I'm not such a fan of that. But on the other side of that coin, people that are complaining about this are going to go out and buy Zelda A Link's Awakening, a remake of a Game Boy game from 1993, for $60. So to compare, the value proposition of even 60 hours of this Final Fantasy remake versus the 8 to 15 hours of a shot-for-shot, nothing added Zelda remake is, it's puzzling. And I think at the end of the day where I come down on this is vote with your wallet. If you don't like Final Fantasy VII being busted up into parts, wait until the whole thing is out. You voicing your concerns, given the fandom and nostalgia for this title, is not going to change anything. You not buying it, though, if enough people are unsatisfied that they do vote like that, maybe it will. I've got to say, if the first part, though, is all of Midgard, I think people forget how big and encompassing Midgard actually was. And they didn't actually say that the first part of the game was just going to be Midgard. The directors clarified 2 times, once at Tokyo Game Show, saying that it's going to focus on Midgard. Now, what that tells me, based on one of the final parts of the Tokyo Game Show trailer, where it's Cloud, Tifa, and Barret looking out into the open, the vast openness outside of Midgard, I've got to say, I do feel like we will be leaving Midgard towards the end of this. Then we've got to talk about this awesome gameplay footage that dropped. The gameplay footage that dropped was amazing. You've got some crazy stuff going on in this. This had some I watched the Eurogamer section of the demo, and sure, it plays the beginning area, and people have, watching it, I was really confused because I saw that, I saw the health, and I kind of freaked out for a minute because it popped up and it was like Cloud has 1211 health, and I was like, oh, that can't be right. Or Cloud had 1020 some health. Oh, that can't be right. It's the start of the game. But the way that the demo seemed structured was really good. I loved Jessie's added kind of personality. I love this tense relationship between Cloud and Barret. I think people forget because they've played the game so many times, and they forget how in the beginning, Cloud was kind of a jerk, like a massive jerk. And the tension between him and Barret really defined that opening part of the game. I really liked that. Listening to the banter between these two guys for the first part of the demo gives me a lot of hope for the way that this game is going to be approaching the character building or retelling of these characters being built. That's something that just excites me. Growing up with these characters, the thought of them having these kind of natural feeling, organic conversations, yeah, I really like it. Now, this also did show us the action style combat. Yeah, you have the ATB, but the action style combat actually looks really good. For the most part, it seems like the combat in the demo that was running by Eurogamer, most of the moves are junk. Really what it comes down to is building up your ATB, just like in the old game, and then using that on a legitimate attack, or an item, or a spell. And then everything in between gauge almost seems, and I could be wrong, but it seems and looks like it's to keep you busy and immersed more than it is to actually do anything. And so what I interpret that as is almost like this remake took out turn-based battles in the way that they were presented in the past, and instead is presenting you with a little more life, but what is simply a re-implementation of that turn-based battle. Most of what happens in the first boss fight seems to happen when using the ATB that they've built up. Now, of course, to build that ATB up, they've had to do these like minor ineffective abilities. Another thing I do like about this, I worried when they first started showing the remake that principally we were going to be controlling Cloud all the time. And it seems like even from the first boss battle, they're pushing you to switch characters and utilize each character kind of strategically. You know, hey, we want you to understand that even though Barret looks like he could clothesline you to death, he's built to be firing from mid to long range. I also really like, yeah, they retitled the boss and the limit break and stuff like that, but I just really liked the flow of this boss battle. It made me more excited for the game. And then the last thing that I want to talk about in this Final Fantasy VII Remake video is bonkers to me. There is going to be a classic mode. So for everyone looking at this game saying, I'm not really into this action-based combat, hey, that's okay. Because there's going to be a classic mode, so you'll be able to enjoy this remake. I don't want to say the same as I grew up enjoying Final Fantasy VII, but definitely similar feeling. And so that's really awesome. Most of the time when I look at games like these that are trying to give you a new experience, I really respect when the developers give us choice. Choice is the biggest thing. Because you might have someone that really wants to re-experience Final Fantasy VII in this amazing new engine, new graphics, again, new voiceovers, all that stuff. They may want to experience that for the first time or for the 50th time, and they might prefer that turn-based combat. And giving them the choice to experience it in that way, kudos to the developers for doing that, because I know personally that's going to mean a lot to a couple of people in my circle. So overall, I made a video a while back about how Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to undisputably be the best remake of next year. Trials of Mana looks good, not great. Xenoblade looks like trash. Yeah, I liked playing Xenoblade the first time. It was a good experience, and Xenoblade 2 was a delight. But the Xenoblade series is just, I'm sorry, even the worst Final Fantasies, 8 and 9, Xenoblade does not hold a candle to those games, so, as a series. So it's weird to me to try to put them against each other to begin with. I brought this up during someone else's live stream. even if you disagree with some people's proposition that Final Fantasy VII is the best Final Fantasy, and I personally do disagree with that. I do believe that there is one and any given day possibly two Final Fantasies that are better. I still think that Final Fantasy VII undoubtedly is a genre-defining game, and that has to be respected above games that, while good, didn't do anything special for the genre. And yes, I'm looking at you, Xenoblade. And so this also gives me hope that maybe one day Square will revisit things like Chrono Trigger, Secret of Evermore, Secret of Mana, with this kind of treatment. The kind of treatment that elevates it to a spot that, I don't know, is I don't want to say timeless, because the first Final Fantasy VII release's graphics did not age well. But I do want to say there's something special with this remake and the way that they're treating it, and kind of telling all of the stories that they couldn't fit or get around to telling the first go, and that is really special. So, with all this Final Fantasy VII news coming out, are you guys excited for it? Are you as excited as I am? Did you grow up playing Final Fantasy? And, question for you in the comments below. If you had your pick, what game, any game, pick any game, would you like to see this treatment, the Final Fantasy VII treatment? Whole new engine, whole new graphics, voice cast, the whole shebang. Money is nothing to us. What game would you like to see them do this to? I personally, I'll share with you guys, I'd love to see this kind of treatment done to Final Fantasy Tactics. Final Fantasy Tactics to me is an all-time top 5 game. Chrono Trigger, that would be another one that I would adore seeing. And little known, kind of cult classic at this point, Secret of Evermore. That was an interesting game to me. I think remastering that with a kind of open world feel would be really cool. So anyway, let me know in the comment section below. Are you psyched for Final Fantasy VII? Are you psyched to see other games kind of remastered and literally remade brick by brick like this? If so, drop them in the comment section below. I've been Chris, this has been the Tiger's Den, and you guys have been great. Thanks for joining me.